Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being part of our show. We are standing at a very important historic moment in our country to change it so that when history is finally written, some people will be counted that they stood out and fought for the liberation of our country. And I want to imagine that this is the third liberation. The first one was when we were fighting the colonial masters and we kicked them away by our gallant men and women of the country. The second one was the fight to liberate ourselves from the Nyayo one-party state, and people paid by their lives, and finally we overcame. And now is what we call political, economic, and social liberation, and it is being fought. I watched the president pensively and very keenly addressing the nation, tensed as he succumbed to more pressure, giving us the austerity measures that he wants to put in place, telling us that government departments will be merged and the employees in those affected departments will be transferred to other areas to continue working, and that the positions of the chief administrative assistants have been suspended. And he was telling us that the advisors in the government ministries shall be reduced by 50%.
Functions will be integrated into the respective line ministries. Staff currently employed by the affected corporations will be transferred to ministries and other state agencies within government. The decision to fill the position of chief administrative secretaries is hereby suspended. The number of advisors in government shall be reduced by 50% within the public service with immediate effect. Budget lines providing for the operations of the office of the First Lady, the spouse of the Deputy President, and the Prime Cabinet Secretary will be removed. Similarly, the budget provisions for confidential budgets in various executive offices, including my own office, have been removed, and the budget for renovations across government reduced by 50%. Henceforth, public servants who attain the retirement age of 60 shall be required to immediately proceed on retirement with no extensions to their tenure of service whatsoever. The purchase of new motor vehicles by the government is suspended for 12 months, except for security agencies, while a new policy on transport for public officers will be developed. All non-essential travel by state and public officers is hereby suspended. No state officer or public servant shall participate in public contributions or haram-fees going forward. The Attorney General is hereby directed to prepare and submit legislation to this effect and develop a mechanism for structured and transparent contributions for public, charitable, and philanthropic purposes. These measures will be followed by changes in government that I will be making shortly. We are determined to carry out this and other interventions to improve
By listening and looking at our president tensed and looking scared, you would be tempted to sympathize with President William Samoei Ruto. But don't be fooled. William Ruto knows exactly what he's doing. But I have to state this. Give credit where it is due. When he finally comes down, people told him Zakayo Shuka. You know, I don't know whether to say he has finally calmed down or he's in the process of descending. I don't know. But then he is listening. He has started listening to us. And should we be proud that the president is now listening? If you ask me, I want to take a different route. We cannot be fooled. Because why did he wait until Gen Zs lost their lives? People like Rex had to die for this. The 12-year-old boy in Rongai who was shot 8 times had to die for the president to stand before us today and start telling us about the austerity measures, things that people had been making noise about. Now, I listened to him, but allow me to pick on one area, the positions of the chief administrative assistant. The reason why the chief administrative assistant these offices are very important to me is because of the controversy that has surrounded these offices. When William Ruto got into power, he wanted to reward election losers. And that is why he wanted to give them jobs. If you look at people like Omanga, people like Itumbi, he wanted to reward friends, those who campaigned for him, those who contributed in one way or the other to his victory. And the courts nullified the positions. He struggled, the attorney general, the government. At some point, I think even Wetangula went to court, but the High Court decided this is unlawful. And then Kimani Chungwa brought in another bill. And do you know what's funny? The parliamentarians voted in support of the reintroduction of the offices, and this time around it was even bad. It was even worse because they removed the cap that had limited William Ruto, I think, to 22 of them, and now William Ruto was at liberty to appoint even 100 if he wanted. To make it worse, their salary were going to be increased even more than the members of parliament. And at some point, the newspapers were writing home that election losers are going to earn more than the members of parliament because the Salaries and Remuneration Commission had decided to add them more money. What for? And people were asking, we already have a cabinet secretary, a principal secretary. So what are they adding up? For example, today, is there anything that has gone wrong that you can attribute to the fact that we do not have the chief administrative assistant? William Ruto was talking about a wage bill that was already bloated. He still wanted to add this, talking about austerity measures. He still wanted to give us more CSS at a time when Kenya was grappling with a very big wage bill. Now, as this is happening, ladies and gentlemen, there are some things that we need to understand. Who are our heroes in this? It didn't just happen. And I want to single 3 categories of people. Number 1, the Gen Zs, the Generation Z. They fought. They went to the streets. They told William Ruto, we are not going to back down. And these are the people who have made William Ruto to come down and start listening to us. We have to give it to them. We have to honor those who have lost their lives. Number 2 are the 2 offices, the Controller of Budget and the Auditor General. These officers kept on exposing William Ruto, the rot, the wastage, things like money that they wanted to siphon by under the pretext of renovating State House and the offices of Rigathi Gachagua. The Auditor General and the control of budget. We need to salute them because they are the people who have contributed to ensure that Kenyans knew what was happening. They're the people who removed the wax, from our ears. And as they continued to reveal all this, the Gen Z decided we cannot take it anymore. We have to salute them. Number three, the opposition. When all this started, they kept on making noise. They rejected. They called out William Ruto, and we have to salute them for standing with the Kenyans. And finally, Kenyans of goodwill, those who went to the streets, those who have been tweeting, those who made caricatures of William Ruto, those who chased people like Kimani Chungwa. I'm not advocating for violence, but those who did not allow them to continue hoodwinking them, those who did not allow them to continue talking in churches to justify their mess. All Kenyans of goodwill, we have to salute them. Our Kenyans, even in the diaspora, that kept on saying, fight for it, we need to salute them. It is not yet over, and I'm not saying as like it's over, but we're saying that a luta continua. But when you see Ruto coming down, please understand that there is a lot of pressure. Itumbi has lost his job, and Margaret Omanga and all these people have lost their jobs. He said it has been suspended. I don't know whether suspension means they can revisit or they will never revisit, but it has been suspended. Let me ask you, do you think William Ruto did not know what he was doing? He knew very well what he was doing. They were on an eating spree. It is our time to eat. Corruption and wastage. Millions, and let me talk of billions of money that have been wasted, that have gone into people's pockets. The oil saga, you remember, where they exorbitantly, just increased the prices. They have taken their cut. The petroleum and the oil saga. These people have taken a lot of money. But why do you think this is happening now? Ladies and gentlemen, it is because William Ruto knew very well that he was going to be hosted by the Gen Z on X Space. And so he decided to do this so that he could come courageously and tell the people, this is what I'm doing. I understand he has said he's not dissolving his cabinet because he's looking at things differently. I want to see what is happening. Now, there is something that we should not lose. The IMF has pressured William Samoei Ruto to reduce the wage bill. And William Ruto got an opportunity. That's why he's saying, if you have attained the retirement age of 60, you go. He has decided to kill two birds with one stone. The Gen Zs will be happy when these people are going home. At the same time, IMF will be very happy because this was one of their conditions. And reducing the wage bill would mean that we reduce the number of civil servants and state officers. This idea of someone has attained 60 years old, but you still see them in offices, and you wonder, when will they retire? So the IMF has contributed to this and the noise on the streets. But do you think William Ruto is serious? Until I see people going to jail. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you, do not look at Ruto and start sympathizing with him. This man knows what he's doing. We need to see his friends going to jail. We need to see people charged for perpetuating corruption. We need to see heads rolling. Because by just talking, no, you cannot tell me I cannot be convinced. Yes, we have reduced, and even before the implementation, these are words, I want to see him implementing all these. And the institutions that are charged with this must tell us whether what William Ruto has said today will be followed by action. Otherwise, it will remain. I've seen William Ruto talk and we clap, yet he doesn't mean it. William Ruto knows that he needs to tell you what you want to hear at that particular moment. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we applaud him for this. But this is just the beginning. Let him not think that this is the end. It is just the beginning.